So, last year was all about AI arriving on the scene, right? The big splash. But what happens the day after? What happens when it's just here? That's exactly what we're digging into with this explainer on the new Stanford AI Index report. We're moving past that initial wow factor to see the complex reality of a world where AI is now basically part of the furniture.
And this quote from the report, wow, it just hits the nail on the head. The data shows this incredible tension. AI isn't just growing, it's literally outgrowing our ability to measure it, to govern it, to educate people about it. And that gap, the space between the tech's insane power and our preparedness, that's the real story we're going to explore. Okay, to give you a real sense of this incredible scale, just look at this number, 53%. So what is that? That's the population-level adoption rate for generative AI. And get this, it happened in just 3 years. To put that into perspective, that is way faster than the personal computer, even faster than the internet. This isn't just growth, you guys, it's an absolute wildfire.
And that wildfire brings us perfectly to our first section, AI's breakneck speed. We're going to look at who's actually building the stuff and, how it's managed to dig its way into every corner of our lives so quickly.
All right, so who's in the driver's seat of this rocket ship? Well, the report makes it crystal clear. Over 90%, 90 of the most powerful, most advanced AI models, they're coming from private industry. Yeah, academia and government are still in the game, but the real bleeding edge, that's almost all private companies now.
And believe me, this tech is everywhere. You've got the corporate world where adoption has hit a massive 88%. And then you look at the next generation, it's even crazier. 4 out of every 5 university students are using it. Seriously, from the boardroom to the dorm room, AI is just the default tool now.
But here's where it gets really weird. All this incredible power, it comes with some seriously strange quirks. And that brings us to our next section, which is called Power and Paradox. I love how the report describes this. They call it the jagged frontier of AI. It's this wild landscape where you have these moments of genius sitting right next to, well, just baffling failures.
Okay, check this out. This slide just perfectly captures that jagged frontier we were talking about. On the one hand, an AI model goes and wins a gold medal at the International Mathematical Olympiad. I mean, that's the absolute peak of human abstract thinking, right? But then, on the other hand, the very top models can only read a simple analog clock correctly about half the time. It's just mind-blowing. Superhuman genius and simple incompetence all wrapped up in the same machine.
And this paradox isn't just about thinking. It extends right into the physical world. Look at this. In a nice, clean, predictable software simulation, a robot can nail a task almost 90% of the time. Easy peasy. But the moment you ask it to do something basic in a messy, unpredictable, real-world home, like, your actual house, the success rate just craters all the way down to 12%. That gap between the digital world and the real one, it's still absolutely massive.
So this all brings us to the money, right? The economic equation, because this weird mix of power and paradox is hitting us right where it counts, in our jobs and in our wallets. And it's creating a picture with some huge, huge wins and some very real pain.
All right, let's start with the good news. The gains. The data here is super clear. We're seeing some serious productivity boosts. Customer support jobs are getting a 14% bump. Software development, a massive 26% increase. If you're a business, you're looking at these numbers and thinking, yeah, we need more of this, and fast.
But, okay, get ready for the whiplash. At the very same time, look at this, negative 20%. That's a nearly 20% drop in employment for young software developers. We're talking about people aged 22 to 25. So let that sink in. The exact same field seeing the biggest productivity gains from AI is also where the entry-level jobs are just disappearing. That's a tough pill to swallow. And the whole economic story here isn't just about jobs either. Think about the value these tools bring to us, to regular people, often for free. Well, the estimated value of all that has exploded to a staggering $172 billion a year. That's a huge economic force that doesn't even show up in the usual stats like GDP. Of course, all this chaos, the tech, the economics, it's not happening in a bubble. It's playing out on the world stage, which brings us right to our next chapter, the global AI race. Okay, so this table really lays out the 2 big players. You've got the US leading the pack when it comes to building the big, flashy models and attracting just insane amounts of private investment.
But then you look over at China, and they are absolutely dominating in the sheer volume of research papers and patents. So you see, it's not a simple race where one's winning. It's way more complex, with each having its own unique strengths.
But here's another one of those paradoxes we've been talking about. Even the leaders have them. The United States might be leading in investment, pouring in all this cash, but its power to attract the world's best AI talent? It has completely fallen off a cliff. We're talking an 89% drop since 2017. And it doesn't matter how much money you have if you can't get the best people to come work for you. So with all of this going on, how are we, actual people, handling it? And that brings us to our final section, people and preparedness. We're going to look at how our society, our schools, and just public opinion are trying to adapt, or in some cases, failing to. Let's start where it really matters for the future, the classroom. The adoption rate here is just undeniable. Over 80% of students in the US are using AI for their schoolwork. This is a massive, fundamental shift in how the next generation is learning, and it's happening right now, from the ground up.
But here comes that gap again, that institutional lag, and it is a huge one. 80% of students are using these tools, but only 6% of teachers say their school has any clear rules on how to handle it. I mean, that right there is the perfect little example of the whole report's main point. Our systems just cannot keep up with the tech.
And this gap goes way beyond the classroom. It's in how we all feel about this stuff. Just look at this divide. You ask AI experts if they're optimistic about AI in jobs, and 73% say yes. You ask the general public the same question, only 23%. That is a 50-point gap, a massive disconnect between the people building the tech and everyone else who has to live with it.
This image kind of captures the whole feeling of it, doesn't it? It's chaotic, it's complex, it's changing so fast, it's even kind of beautiful. But it's also really unstable. And that's the story we've been telling here. From the labs to the economy to the classroom, AI's power is just exploding at this historic speed. And the most important takeaway is that all of our systems, for governing it, for teaching it, for understanding it, are being left in the dust.
And so we're left with the one big central question that the whole AI Index report is asking. This technology is scaling way faster than we can adapt. So the challenge for all of us really is to figure out, how do we close that gap?